Okay, so let's have a look at a diet for a little horse named Smarty. So the first thing we want to do is click on this My Horses and Diets button here and then create horse. So we can enter Smarty's details, so her name and her breed. She's actually a Tobiano, but we don't have that, so we'll just enter her as a paint. She is a mare, and currently she's a mature horse in light work. So born in October in 2010, and her owner has given me a weight of 450 kilograms. So put that in there. Now she is described as being a good doer, and she's in good condition, so we'll put her in as a condition score 5. I haven't actually condition scored this horse, but this condition score really is only here to make you think as the horse's owner about whether your horse needs to have more condition or less condition. So just really makes you think about what condition your horse is in. So now we want to maintain Smarty's weight, so you can choose lose weight or gain weight, but in this case we're going to maintain her weight. And Smarty is described as being anxious and a bit cranky, but she doesn't actually have any of these conditions. So you can put in if your horse is particularly prone to some of these conditions like insulin resistance or laminitis, but I'm going to put none for Smarty there. And we'll just keep in mind that she can be a bit cranky when she's being rugged and girthed or cinched up, and also anxious if she's away from other horses. Now she does have access to pasture, so we say yes to does she have access to pasture or free choice hay, and she's out on the pasture 16 to 24 hours. Now her pasture is a bit of a mixture of, sounds quite like my pasture, a bit of a mixture of different grasses. So it's predominantly native grass. So I'll name the pasture and say Smarty's pasture, and we'll go to the pasture tab, this green tab here, and we'll find native grass, which we'll add over here. And then she's also got some clover, so we choose legumes, and some ryegrass, so C3 type grass. So your C3s are your temperate grasses like ryegrass. Now I expect the ryegrass at this time of year will be good quality, possibly excellent quality. I'd have to see the actual pasture to tell. And I'm just going to put a small amount, so 15% there for it. Same for the clover. I'll say, actually I'll put excellent quality for the clover, and I'll put it at 10%. Now Smarty's owner would have to actually adjust to make sure that she's got all of the, if we've got all of the levels of these different types of pasture here correct. And then what have I got? 25. So I need 75% native grasses, and I'm going to say that they're average quality. So we built the pasture. Obviously, if it's your own pasture, it's a lot easier to determine the quality levels because you're there and you're seeing the pasture. I haven't seen this pasture, so but I think for this time of year, it'll be a good estimate of what that pasture is doing. So now we're going to create this diet. Click on create diet, and we'll put up here current diet so that we can go back and identify the diet again later if we need to. Could even put the month of June so that we know when we made the diet. Now she's getting just let me have a look. She's getting lucerne hay. So I always like to put my forages in first, so they're sitting down the bottom of the table over here. We'll say good quality lucerne hay. She gets 1.5 kilos of that per day, and then she also gets chaff, so a 50-50 chaff, which will be an oat chaff. I've done a lot of diets today, I'm getting confused. So she's getting an oat chaff, a kilo of oat chaff per day. Again, we'll say good quality and say 1 kilo. Now she's also getting mica beet, which is a sugar beet pulp. If we type mica beet in there, it will find it for us, and she's getting 300 grams of that per day. It's really important that you enter the dry weight of your beets in there. So this does get soaked, but you enter the dry weight. And then she gets a feed called Manildra Performance Pellet, which is hopefully in our database. Yep. So she gets 300 grams of that per day. and then is getting Cell Vital, which is Conky's product, at 20 grams per day, and a product called White E plus selenium. So if I just type White E in here, we should be able to find it here. White E with selenium at 10 grams, and a product called Dinovite microbiome support. So I'll just put microbiome. Here we go. So we've got two here, Dinovite microbiome support new, so I'll use that one and put in 50 mils. So that's her current diet. So we'll just click through now to the results and have a look and see. So on the first summary, we get just an overall summary. So we can actually see here everything's green. So all of her requirements are actually met, which is probably to be expected with the combination of ingredients in the diet. The vitamin mineral level should all be pretty well met. Now, if you are a numbers person, you can have a look on this pink tab, which is the nutrient table. And down in this column here, you will see Smarty's recommended daily intake for all of the different nutrients. So if we take a look here, Smarty needed 25 grams per day of calcium. This diet currently is providing 49.3 grams of calcium, so her recommended daily intake is being met at 197%, so requirements definitely being met. Some of you might be thinking, well, is that way too much? 197, it sounds high, but if you read the note here, it says that her upper safe limit for calcium is 180 grams per day, or 721% of her RDI, so it's still way below the upper safe limit, so it's very safe. So if you're worried about any of the levels in the diet, just read this note here and it will tell you what the actual upper safe limit is. Now, down the bottom of the table, you will see her total intake, her total forage intake. So her forage intake is good. It's well and truly meeting her minimum forage requirement. The higher you can get this number, the better. It is also showing us the calcium to phosphorus ratio, the zinc to copper ratio, and in the premium plan, you'll see this show more ratio, so you can see the calcium to magnesium and the iron to copper to zinc to manganese, if that's a ratio you also like to balance. So we'll have a look at the nutrient graph. And what I immediately see on the nutrient graph is that the digestible energy level is good. So 104%, it's not too high, it's not too low. What I'd want to do at 104% is just keep condition scoring Smarty and making sure she's not actually putting on weight. I know if my horses were at this level, they would be putting on weight because they're quite good doers, and that would be too high for them. But Smarty might be a little bit different. So it's a matter of just running your hands constantly over them and seeing if they're putting on weight or not. If she was putting on weight, I would be looking at taking out, say, the horse pellets or the microbeat, the higher calorie ingredients that are in there, just to bring that energy amount in the diet down a bit to maintain her condition. Protein and lysine levels, there's no worries there with them being met, and all of the trace mineral levels are being met. But what's interesting for me in this diet is that the trace mineral levels are easily being met. So if you have a look at the yellow there on that bar, that's showing us what's coming from the Cell Vital. So we could actually reduce that Cell Vital in this diet to down a bit, and that will just save some money for this horse's owner, because she's probably almost using not quite twice as much as she needs, but it would be close. And then the other interesting one is the White E with selenium. So you can see it here in the orange. It's adding that little bit of selenium on top there, which is well above requirement, and then it's adding the vitamin E on top there, which is also well above requirement. So we could reduce the cost of this diet by quite a lot just by removing those ingredients. So I'm just going to download the PDF for this diet because I want to keep it for later. So there's our PDF there. So I'll save it later, and we'll go back to the diet here, and I'll just click this button down here to say edit this diet, and I'll say revise diet. So again, we can keep track of it, and I'm going to take out this White E. There may be some reason why this horse is on the White E. She may have a condition that the vet has said to put her on extra vitamin E and selenium, but looking at it purely from a nutritional perspective, I'm going to say we don't need that ingredient. And then the Cell Vital, I think we can very easily bring down to 15 grams, which means that every 4 days now we're getting a free dose of Cell Vital. So you can see now requirements are still easily being met, so there's been no negative impact of taking out that whole selenium vitamin E supplement, which they're expensive supplements, great when you need them, but expensive when you don't need them. And we're saving a quarter of our Cell Vital per day. So the costs, and it's a shame I don't have. Actually, let me see really quickly. I was going to say it's a shame I don't have the costs for these, because you can actually here enter the cost for that ingredient. So say it was $50 for 1.2 kilograms of Cell Vital. If we enter that in there, so you can see the little cost pop up there. So at that, and that's just an out and out guess for the cost of that product, but it's showing up there as 63 cents per day. So if Smarty's owner was using FeedXL, what I would suggest doing is putting all the costs for all of those ingredients in, and we've probably saved close to $1 a day, I would guess, at taking out those ingredients. Now, the other thing that we might want to think about with Smarty is actually adjusting the diet from a gut health perspective. So if we have a look at this Manilja Performance Pellets, if we click on partial data here, and then we can see here the URL for that feed ingredient. So I'm just going to click it and open up the actual web page for that particular feed and see where are we? Our products and stock feed. I don't know if it's going to be easy to get to, but given they're a flour mill, I'm going to say that feed is going to be grain based. I can't actually find the information for it, but given they're a flour mill, I'm going to say it's grain based. And often when we get this sort of snarky and anxious behaviour, it can be something going on in the gut. So either girthiness can be often pain in the hindgut for some reason, or possibly gastric ulcers. So maybe reducing the grain content of this diet might be a good idea. So if we take that out, and this is just an example, so it's completely up to you as a horse owner to figure out if this is what you want to do. And most of the mineral requirements are being met. Phosphorus has gone a little bit low, but what we could look at doing is replacing that 300 grams of the feed with something like lupins, which if you're in Australia you'll be very familiar with. If you're in other parts of the world you're probably very unfamiliar with lupins, but they're a great feed ingredient that we've got available to us here in Australia. So we'll add 300 grams of lupin. So we've just taken out one ingredient and replaced it with another. So we've now managed to top up that phosphorus requirement enough. What we now see happening is that the chloride has just dipped down a little bit. So we can add just a little bit of salt to top that up. It's a little bit of a game of try a little bit of this and a little bit of that in this diet, but we'll find salt in the database and we're not going to need very much. So we'll just say add say 5 grams. And again, it's a matter of, if you're not sure, start at 5 or 10 and then adjust up or down as you need. We could probably go to 10 grams there. So you can keep tinkering around. The other thing is that all the mineral requirements are right on, without that complete feed in there, they're right on the 100% mark. They've dropped just a little bit low. So we could either increase the Cell Vital, or we could consider, if we take lupins out, we could consider using a grain-free complete feed. So again, I'm just pulling examples out here, not recommendations as such. So if I replace that grain-based feed with a non-grain feed, so in this case Easy Sport, which I know is grain-free, we'll go back to having a diet that looked a little bit more like the diet when the grain-based pellet was in there, but now we've taken all the grain out, which may help with that behaviour that you're seeing. There could be a bunch of reasons for that behaviour. It could be something to do with the ryegrass in the pasture and mycotoxins there. It could be behavioural and learnt behaviour. I don't know, because I haven't asked enough questions of the horse's owner. But I think as a first step, taking her toward a lower starch grain-free feed. If you are looking at your starch levels, you can have a look in the premium plan on the health tab here, and it does actually add up the starch, water-soluble carbohydrate and non-structural carbohydrate levels for you. But in this case, we don't have some of the levels for some of the ingredients being used, so these are very much estimates based on the ingredients being used. We'd have to go and add some extra data in there for it to be accurate, which you can do, but I'm not going to do that just now, otherwise this recording is going to get way too long. So just gives you a little bit of an idea of a few adjustments. So the main thing with this diet was we were able to reduce the supplement down and take an ingredient entirely out, which is going to have big cost saving benefits for Smarty's owner.